Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our weekly hangout with April and Darlene. I'm Darlene Willman, and of course my lovely co-host April Morris-Sadoon. We are broadcasting on both our hangout with April and Darlene. So if you want to go see us, go check us out at hangoutwithaprilanddarlene.com, and you'll get a chance to see our live streaming hangout that we do on Google Plus every week, as well as broadcasting on the Accomplished Radio Show. So we're doing twice the effect for double the impact. So you have both of us for the next half hour, and each week we have a different topic that we share. And sometimes we bring in some special guests, which we're lining up some incredible people here to be joining us here very soon. Anyway, let me go ahead and introduce my lovely co-host, April Morris-Sadoon. Go ahead, April.
Hi.
Go ahead and take over.
Hi there. Thanks for joining us today. Darlene, always think about what could we share, something that's new that we could really have an open, heartfelt discussion about. And so for the next few weeks, we thought, we're really going to talk about some of the foundational beliefs that she and I both have that we believe can make a huge difference and an impact in your business and also in your personal life, either one. But today, really, the discussion is all around one of our primary beliefs, which is we believe in that we believe that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so some people call that karma. Other people call it the golden rule. We know what the golden rule is, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And, still other people have heard, even a biblical term, which is what you sow, you shall reap. So where does this come from? The root of this, or where it comes from, is it's really foundational through Newton's third law of motion. And what that means is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, which is what we talked about before. So you probably heard that in physics class. It's scientifically proven. And Darlene and I have a very strong belief in this law of the universe because we've experienced it in our personal lives and also in our business lives over and over again. So let me give you just a quick example of really kind of the science behind that, just to demonstrate what we're talking about, the law of cause and effect. So for example, if you think about a bird, okay, when a bird flies, it flaps its wings and it begins to take off. So the wings are pushing down on the air, and since forces result from mutual interaction, okay, equal and opposite, the air also must be pushing the bird upward. That's what gives a bird flight. That's also how airplanes fly. That's also the motion of automobiles. They roll forward, so the wheels push against the pavement. The equal and opposite reaction to that is the pavement pushing back against the wheels as it's pulling itself forward, and that's what creates the momentum forward. So I wanted to give you just a little bit, a snapshot or an example of what we mean by this effect. And like I said, it's a law of the universe, and we've seen it in our own lives. I certainly have in so many different areas. Darlene, you want to share about the law of cause and effect and maybe, an example of something that's happened in your life?
Well, sure. And it's funny because when you think about Newton, I always think of, what goes up must come down, right? And so that's kind of the same sort of scenario here, and it's about what you put out there into the universe. And I'm a huge fan of the law of attraction. Everyone who's been, connecting with me and following me through the years, that's really been one of the things that I look at. So what I put out to the universe, my goal is to put out lots of, positive, results for people, inspiration, and, things that I want to receive back, right? So what you put out there, you get back. It's a lot like the whole ripple effect, but then how it turns itself around and it comes back to you again. So that kind of the law of reciprocity, what you put out, you get back in. And, all these things that we talk about really is the foundation of our beliefs. I mean, this is something that April and I feel so strong about that we wanted to make sure that other folks that, connect with us, they get the same sort of response. And so it's like when you put out love into the universe, you get more love back. When you put more more good faith and goodwill into things that are around you in your community comes back to you. So it's kind of that same sort of reaction, that it's almost like making a whole bunch of bank deposits, right? And you're constantly putting in a deposit, and it's not like you're looking for the withdrawal anytime soon. This is kind of like your savings account. So if you're constantly putting good, deposits in, that eventually it will yield a great result. And so that's, a lot of stuff that we create. You keep giving and keep giving, and a big thing that I've learned through the years is the one thing that I have really been drawn to is generosity. When I surround myself with other people that are generous, I become more generous too, and vice versa. Because to me, that generosity is something that will go so much further than, let's see what we can take from each other. I don't like to play in that kind of environment. Because if you surround yourself with takers, guess what? Then you're going to be taking too, and it becomes this awkward little battle, and it's uncomfortable, and that's not the environment that April and I choose to be around. We really love the fact that the more that we contribute to the world, the more that they show up wanting more contribution. Right, so I can tell you like lots of different examples, that has happened to me throughout the years. One of them being, when I participated years ago in doing the 100 articles in a 100-day challenge. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to be sharing. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to be putting into effect. I didn't know what I wanted to publish. At the time, I was doing a lot of professional networking. I organized, groups and events, and my goal was to introduce others to one another so they could, get those connections and establish those resources and have a constant flow of referrals that will generate as a result. So, I did a lot of networking, so a lot of the articles I published was on networking. So fast forward, so I made a bunch of these deposits. I published all these articles, right? And so the ripple effect, or the cause that has happened, is that now I've impacted over 15,000 readers that have read my articles. I can see all the results online. And then what's cool about that is that they've taken the information and passed it on. So it kind of continued on. They've been republished over 400 times in publications all over the world. And I'm not, I'm really not, who knows how that's going to all kind of come back, other than I've had people reach out to me that have said, I really enjoy what you say. I love what you've written in your articles. Can I interview you perhaps? Or can I include you in my book publication? Or, I've had the honor of writing, the foreword for several people, several authors, or even the back cover, just lots of different things. I never saw that as far as why I was writing these articles. I didn't realize that that was going to be an impact or a result from getting all those out there. So that's just one example that I wanted to share. April, I'm sure you've got a few that you'd like to share with our audience. And again, before April, go ahead and tell you that, if you want to tune in to our live streaming video that April and I are doing on Google Hangout, again, we do this every Thursday. So it's hangoutwithaprilandarlene.com. You can plug into that and you'll be able to see us, virtually. All of our replays are also available on our site, innovateandaccomplish.com. But April, why don't you go ahead and share, something that has happened to you that has generated, that cause and effect reaction.
Sure. Okay, so I decided just sitting here that I'm going to share a personal story on this, something that happened last week, and then I'm going to share how it's affected me in my business life too. So this is a true story, and I'm hoping my husband's not listening. But anyway, between us, My husband and I were getting ready. We've got a 2-year-old. We're getting ready to go to the gym to work out. So you know how it is when you got kids, moms. You got to get the diaper bag. You got to make sure you got everything packed. You got to get the snacks. You got to get, all of those things, something to drink. You know how toddlers are. So we were getting everything, and it's almost like your hands are full every time you go. So my husband had put those things in the car and put the baby in the car seat. And I saw that his cell phone and his glasses were sitting on this little table we have that is right before you walk out to get in the garage. And I walked past it, and I had my hands full too, and I go, "Hey, I think you left your cell phone and your glasses on the table." And he immediately snapped at me and said, "Yeah, and I see that you didn't even bother to pick it up. You're just going to come and get in the car." Well, that kind of reaction towards me, I went, "Well, you know what? That's because you always leave your glasses in." But you know what I mean?
I can see that happening.
Before I even thought about it. And we get in the car, and we're having this conversation, mad. Both of us mad now, okay? Both of us are mad now going to the gym. And so I'm telling him, I'm like, "You know what? It's really about how you say something. If you would have said, 'Honey, would you go ahead and grab that for me while you're there?' I would have said, 'Oh, yeah, sure, I'll grab it.' And then we would have avoided all of that. But what he put out, it immediately mirrored back. And I'm guilty of that too. I mean, I'm I'm right there with him. I have snapped too on something that's so small that blows up to be something huge that really was like ridiculous to be even having a discussion on. But that was an example of cause and effect, because whatever you put out there to the exact degree, okay, you'll actually mirror it back. You'll attract it back to you, either from the person you're communicating with, or maybe it doesn't happen from that person, but somebody else will come back and do it to you to that same degree. So that's just the personal example, communication with my spouse. And I'm sure maybe a few of you could relate. I don't know, but
yeah, no, I have nothing to relate to on that.
It's one of those things where, like, why are we arguing about that? That is, like, ridiculous. There's more things to be worried about besides that. But anyway, I learned my lesson. So the next thing that I have experienced cause and effect in my life is in business. And I've got a bunch of examples, but I'll go with one. So Darlene and I do our hangouts each week. Okay, so we do our hangouts, we film videos. I film a lot of videos too on YouTube with Darlene and some without, that are value driven. I'm real big on that. So content that really is useful to people that are your target market, that maybe would like to connect with you and learn from you, or just giving value to them. Don't say, "Hey, buy this," but, "Hey, can I give you some value?" And so that they could get to know you. Anyway, we film these videos. We try to give really good value, or pique interest, or be interesting at the least. And so what I notice is every time on Google, all of the videos are automatically uploaded to YouTube and to Google+. And every time that somebody shares my video on Google+, I get an email notification that so-and-so shared your video, or so-and-so left a comment. And I respond to everybody. Everybody that shares it, I try every time, unless somehow I accidentally miss it, or somebody that puts a comment under a video. And so my point is, with that situation, when I'm giving value in the video, or when we strive to do that, then people share it, and that's them paying it forward because they found value in it, and they start talking about you to their friends, or sharing your information with their sphere of influence, which is like a huge compliment, and it's like so it's just really something to be grateful about. I feel really grateful about it because I really genuinely want to help people. I know Darlene does too. And that fuels us to say, "Gosh, what else can we help them with?" And so we make more videos. So there you go.
It's almost like a chain reaction. Yeah. The domino
it's a chain reaction. Effect. Yeah, that's right. Like the law of reciprocity, which is really, that law of cause and effect. again, what you're putting out there, the more that you help other people to reach their goals, they'll help you to reach your goals. And it's not something that you have to sit around and go, okay, I'm doing this and I better get this back. You let all that stuff go. You let that fear stuff go, and you just give freely without expectation. And that kind of energy is what fuels it to happen even faster for you, to draw opportunities, new people, places, people sharing what you're doing more, things like that.
Another thing that's coming to mind for other ways of cause and effect is when we take time to interview somebody and really get to know them, and we bring them to the people in our network, we share them and promote them, to our fans and lots of other things. As a result, and we don't even have to ask, but as a result, they contact us and say, we'd like to return the favor and interview you on our, whether they're having a webcast or conference call, a hangout, or radio show, whatever it is, because we're basically doing things from the heart, and I think people sense that, and then they're drawn to it magnetically. Because we don't ever ask for anything in return, the law of cause and effect basically says that it will come back to you eventually. And it may not be direct. It may be through a friend of a friend of a friend, or perhaps one of them heard this interview, this broadcast, this Google Hangout, whatever the case may be, and they've shared it with somebody else, and they're like, hey, you know what, I wouldn't mind, talking closer, or maybe if I bring them into my world, they'll bring me into theirs. So it's a constant ebb and flow, just like the tide. So the tide will always go out and will always come in. Right? So that's that cause and effect, that karma, so to speak, right? If we want to get into the spiritual point, in which April and I are both highly spiritual individuals. And, most of the people that we're around understand that, the more abundance that you can give, the more generous you become, the more you get back. And so those are just a few more things. And, when it comes to karma, you got to think there's good karma and there's bad karma, right? There's evil and good and all those kind of things. But when you have that good karma, I call them karma credits, right? So we talked about deposits earlier. Now we're talking about karma credits. But, if you're constantly doing good for others and making those karma credits, I believe that at some point in time, those are going to come back to you in a multiple wave. It's going to be a constant rush of different opportunities that will present themselves to you. How about you, April? What's your take on karma?
I think too, with karma or the golden rule or what you sow you reap, it's also about the degree also. And what I mean is, to the degree that you actually give somebody some advice or give somebody else a referral to actually really help them, is to the degree that's going to come back to you as well. So let me give you an example, and I used to do this too. Years ago, when somebody would say, oh, would you, if you ever hear of anybody who's looking to buy or sell a home, can you refer them to me? And I just gave that as an example because I used to be in the real estate industry way back before I started doing what I'm doing now. And it's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'll keep you in mind if anybody, if I hear of anybody, I'll certainly pass along your name or your card or whatever. And that's not really a deposit. That's just, nothing's really happened. There hasn't been an exchange. And Darlene is great about that. She talks about there's got to be an exchange of energy, real exchange. So just saying that you'll keep them in mind is one thing. But actually doing an e-introduction for two people and really giving them both a great recommendation in that and saying, please, both of you connect because I believe that you could do some business together. Or I believe that she'd be a great person to have on your radio show or whatever. That's a deposit. And that's when you get that exact degree back. Because if you go around saying, yeah, well, I'll keep you in mind and I'll, help you out if I come across somebody, you're going to get that back. People say, yeah, I'll keep you in mind and let you know if I ever hear of anybody. And then nobody ever gets anything done. It's when you take those very specific strategic steps to really deliver on, what you say you're going to do. Not just in real estate or sending referrals, but really any aspect of your business. To the degree of kindness that you give out, and love is the degree of love and kindness that people respond back to you. So whether it's a relationship or in business or really every aspect of it, I think.
So, what if you think about, let's kick it up a notch, right? Let's
Okay.
let's kind of bring this up a notch. And let's talk about, you know, believing, okay? If you take the whole concept of, let's say you believe in other people. There's people in your life that you believe 100% in. You're always there. You always support them. You'll do whatever needs to happen because you believe so much in them. Do you think that they're also reciprocating that and saying, I believe in you too, right? So it really does make an impact on a higher level. The more you can support others, in a sense, they're going to turn around and support you, right? And that is just one of those things that is just such a beautiful effect when you really implement these kind of things into your life, into your business, into your day-to-day activities, that you can't go wrong. This is an area that it's almost a non-negotiable. If you really want to grow and you really want to advance, you have to develop this kind of a following. You need to have this kind of impact where people just so much rely and depend on what you say, because we are all here for a reason. We're all here for our own purpose, and we all deliver our own certain unique message. And what happens is they too, as they get the results that they need to help them move forward and progress, they're going to turn around and tell other people on your behalf. They're going to be the ones that say, oh my gosh, I believe in everything, I love what they do, or they're saying the right things. You got to listen, right? So it happens automatically. It's very natural, and that's why it's one of the favorite universal laws that we truly believe in. Other things that you might want to share, April? Can you believe it? This is such a great conversation. We could keep going with this because so many different aspects of this. So what else did you want to share?
Yeah, you're right. If you've noticed that, gosh, I guess what I wanted to say is, when you're making your deposits or doing what you're doing, make sure that as Darlene said, make sure that you believe in the person, because we don't ever want to give. If we're really not sure somebody can do what they say they can do, you hesitate on giving a true referral and actually taking the next step and telling people about them. So the way that you do that is you pay attention to their writing. You watch their broadcasts, or you watch, you kind of get to know them. And then that will build your belief in them to where you can recommend them without hesitation. I mean, that's really what it's about. Trust. Trust is a big thing on this, I think. Once you trust somebody, then, oh my gosh, you can't wait to help them out because you feel comfortable talking about them. And it's not even just about talking about them. It's, like I said, it's other aspects of your life too. When it comes to relationships, communication. Hey, and get this, sometimes it's the energy that you bring to a space that people can pick up on intuitively, and there's no words exchanged. It's something they feel. So people can feel fear-based thinking and thoughts, and they can also feel love or expansion or genuineness when you're really genuine. If you're trying to be something you're not, people feel that too. You don't even have to. You can say all the right things, but they feel it. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well when you're in your communications and the law of cause and effect. Because if you're projecting an energy, you're going to get that same energy back as well.
Get this too. When you think about, the whole connection and communicating with others, right? So let's say in your personal life you haven't heard from family members in a long time, or you haven't talked with friends in a long time other than, Facebook and stuff like that, but have an actual heart-to-heart conversation on the phone. If you want more of those, then you need to make more of those. All right? If you want to get your phone ringing with old relatives that you haven't heard from in a long time, you need to start picking up the phone and calling them first. And then before you know it, it's the universe is going to start saying, "Hey, she's wanting to connect and revive some old relatives and relationships," to where it will come back to you. It may not be that same relative who contacts you. It could be an old long lost friend you haven't heard from in ages. That all of a sudden they picked up on that universal signal and said, "Oh, I got to call Darlene." Right. And that tends to happen when you do that. Or it's the same thing with I used to teach a course on referrals and how to give them to receive them, right? And it really is it's an art, because you really are truly just spreading the wealth and giving, 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 and then eventually, as it comes around, someone heard through the grapevine, or through your networks, your connections, your channels, everything else around you, that all of a sudden they come in and they go, "Oh, yeah, I want to play in that. I want to be a part of that whole reciprocation and the giving and receiving kind of thing, that ebb and flow." So, yeah, April and I just love this topic. As you can tell, this is something that we really are passionate about. We're down to just our last few minutes of our broadcast. And again, we're glad that you came here, and make sure that you do join us. If you'd like to start receiving some, announcements or reminders, again, you can always go to hangoutvithaprilanddarlene.com, start plugging into all these broadcasts so that you can not only hear us on the Accomplished Radio Show, but you can also watch us as we are talking to you live or in a replay, because we record everything. So all those replays, again, are located at innovateandaccomplish.com. April, do you have any other things that you might want to share before we end our show today?
Nope. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate, and we know that your time is valuable. And certainly if you have any suggestions, connect with us on our Facebook page as well and share our suggestions, a topic that you'd like to just get in on the conversation on. And maybe we'll pick your topic and talk about that too. You can go to Innovate and Accomplish, our fan page on Facebook, and type it in. Just, let us know. Give us feedback, comments. We would love to hear from you.
Fantastic. You'll definitely want to start following what we have going on our Facebook page. April and I have recently changed direction a little bit in our coaching practice, and we think you'll be very pleased to learn some of the things that we'll be rolling out. So make sure you visit us, facebook.com/innovate and accomplish. And again, we're excited to have you here, and we look forward to talking with you again next week on our weekly broadcast of Hangout with April and Darlene. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.